Cool. So thank you so much, Becky, for doing this with me and sharing your perspective on tech and just what it's like to be a woman in tech in Kenya today and some advice for some upcoming devs. So we'll start with a brief introduction. What is your background in tech?
Well, I have been in the tech space for the last 10 years, so don't try and calculate my age, but every day there's something new and exciting. I've had the fortune of working in an organization where there's a lot of different technologies, so I've not always been stagnated in one specific vertical, because I started out following my university degree with computer science. I moved into an organization where we were working with .NET technologies, implementing some payroll and HR solutions. So then I progressed into the Microsoft space where we were working with platforms such as SharePoint, Power BI and the like. And I've also worked with other technologies that are around performance management that are built on Java. And lastly, we are working with the robotics and artificial intelligence tools, which has been quite exciting. And all this happening in one organization gives me an opportunity to feel like I have had 10 different jobs, but still working in the same organization.
Awesome. So I usually read on developer communities online that it's advisable to change jobs every 3 to 5 years. But you talked about you having multiple experiences within one company. So what's your stance on the same?
I think I would say you should move as soon as you feel that there's no more room for growth. But as long as there's opportunity to grow and learn, there's always a reason to stay. However, there are many factors that would lead to you leaving or staying in a given organization. So I wouldn't say it's restricted to just the opportunity for growth, but that's a big requirement for me to stay or to leave. I would need to feel the challenge is still there, the opportunity to grow as an individual is still there.
Awesome. So who inspires you to become a better techie? Who is one person that you look up to in the tech space?
I think it's not really a person, but it's the client need. When I look at what the client expectations are and the need for me to satisfy their needs, that's a real driving force for me, because I've had the opportunity to work with so many different amazing people in the tech space. So I wouldn't say I am limited to one specific person, although I must point out maybe Wambo Imbesa. She's a person I've worked with, but now she's my mentor, and she really challenges me to just get to the next level, not necessarily as a techie, but a person working in the tech space.
Wonderful. So you have a mentor who guides you on your experiences in tech. What advice do you have for upcoming developers who are interested in gaining mentors? What's one step you'd advise them to take in order to get a mentor?
Okay. The first thing I always say is, what is it that you want out of the mentor? Because then it will help you decide who is an appropriate mentor for that. Also, is that mentor available? Are they someone reachable? Because right now we don't have the restriction of physical intimacy. We can actually reach out to someone who would mentor you from Germany or America or wherever they may be. The limitation is no longer that it has to be someone you know or someone you're familiar with. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to find a mentor. If you just search and you give the specific criteria of which areas you want mentorship on, LinkedIn has those opportunities. Just reach out. If there's someone you admire, just send them a message and say, this is what I admire about you. I know I've done that because I have different mentors for different areas in my life. if there's someone I feel a connection with, or I feel there's some value they can add to my life, I reach out. And you'll find that as much as they seem unreachable, they are actually very receptive to give you the information or insights that you're seeking.
Wonderful. Thanks for that insight. I didn't know LinkedIn had such accommodations. I'll be sure to check that out. In terms of the job space, what are some of the upcoming jobs that you see right now in the market that weren't there maybe 10 years ago when you were starting?
Yeah, I think if I think of the times when we were having a solution that was built on specifically for HR processes in one of the organizations I worked for, we found that what the client needed was simply a report. How many employees do I have? How many employees went on leave? How many are planning their leaves? How many leave balances are there? Those are the kind of reports we were looking at. They were they were reporting on information that has already happened. But I feel right now the biggest difference is that we're looking to see how that data can help us plan for the future or prepare for the future. And that's where data analytics and data science really come in strongly, and I feel that's one big change that we've had, and it has blown up a lot of opportunities for developers, and there are a lot of roles that have come up aligned to data science and data analytics that were not there 10 years ago when I was starting out.
Okay. I'm gonna throw this ambush question in. The last time I saw you presenting, you were on a panel that was discussing blockchain tech and its implementation in Kenya. So what are some of the opportunities that are in that space for upcoming developers as well?
Okay. Well, I've only been able to engage with blockchain with regard to project management, where in the organization I work for, the technology is being deployed for clients, and there's a need for project management on those implementations. However, what I do know is that there is a need for developers, blockchain developers, as well as business consultants who will be able to understand what are the possibilities of the blockchain technology and how it can be mapped to a client need. So someone who can speak both languages, the client language as well as the technical language, would be a very big value add to any organization that is implementing blockchain technology.
Wow, food for thought. When it comes to organizations and working in teams as developers usually do, what is one non-technical skill that developers often need to have in order to promote the success of their work and of the whole organization as a whole?
I think I would say it would be communication. Because as long as we are effective in our communication, research shows that 70% of the mistakes that we make in the workplace are because of poor communication. Can you believe that?
I know, but I'll believe you.
And I don't think the technical space is being left behind on that. If we're not being able to effectively communicate with the client, amongst the team, that's where all the blunders are coming from. And I think specifically in Africa, one of our biggest weaknesses is that we don't like showing that we don't know. So someone would be seated at their desk, dying with a problem, struggling with that one line of code or one config that is not bringing out the results as they want. And they could have just walked up to their colleague and just said, hey, can you see where the challenge is here, or what have I missed? And they get the resolution as quick as that. But they prefer to just sit, struggle, and I'm not saying others, even I have had that weakness at some point where I want to try all means possible before I reach out for help. But realizing that the team is there to just make things easier and done faster, it makes you want to take advantage of the team. Having worked in a team has made me realize that we should harness the capabilities of the entire team. So working together with people, reaching out when we are having a struggle will go a long way. And I think effective communication will be useful in that regard, because you're able to bring out what the problem is and someone is able to respond to that problem because you've explained it clearly, and this other person is not using that as a judgment on your capabilities or inadequacies on your role, but just simply realizing that you're stuck somewhere and that you need a helping hand.
Cool. I think another thing that I'm picking out of what you said is humility. Just being humble enough to realize I don't know everything and I can reach out to my colleague to get that help. That's a huge add-on as well.
Yes.
Okay, so what are the pros and cons of working in an organization versus working as a freelance developer?
Okay. I think one of the things I noticed when I ever freelanced, which was quite a while back, is that I didn't have first a proper understanding of what are the legal requirements around taxation, around NHIF, NSSF, all those things that are automatically done for you when you're working in an organization which has a properly structured HR function. When you're on your own out there, you have to be the account manager, you have to do the business development, you have to do the technical work, you have to follow up on payments, you have to do all that, which were things which you may not be familiar with the processes and the legal expectations that come with all those different aspects, and they are not done in the exact same way as you would be expected to do in an organization. So the tax rates and the submissions that you need to make with the government are very different. So that was one area I felt people need to be very conversant with, so that you're not in any there are no issues around the tax evasion and the like. Other than the legal aspect, I felt that freelancing was very good because it helps you understand how business works. You suddenly realize that I have to constantly sell. As much as I have a project that is running and it may be bringing in money at this moment, as soon as I finish it, I need to have another one ready. So I can't wait until the project is done for me to look for more business. I have to constantly look for business. And I think juggling both those areas was a bit tough. But one thing is, the most clients will always come from referrals. So giving your best for every project that you're doing, because at that point, you are the brand, you are the organization. It's not like you're under the umbrella of an organization where you can ride on their brand or on their name. When you're a freelancer, you are the brand. So how you execute will lead to much more business coming from the referrals that your clients will get you.
And so as I wind up this interview, I have one last question for you. If you could go back 10 years to the beginning of your career, or even like back into your college days, what would you do differently that would have made a big difference? Or what would you have done that you already did just to replicate the same wonderful effect?
That's a very good question, because in my case, I didn't choose to be in IT. My father told me, that's the course you're doing, that's the course I'm paying for. And if you choose any other course, you can pay it for yourself. I didn't have the option of whether I want to be in IT or not. I found myself there. And for many years, I did it for my father. I put my success in his hands. So when we had a good relationship, my career was excelling. As soon as I was annoyed with him, I wanted to trash my career because it's not for me. I'm not doing it for me. Yeah. And that really helped me back in many ways, because I was always looking to him for guidance. I was looking to him for where to go next, how to go about it, instead of taking my career into my own hands. And I think I've seen many people who put their career in someone else's hands. Let's realize that as adults, you're no longer holding someone else responsible for the outcome of your career. And once I realized that, it made me more conscious of how much I want to do and how much I'm willing to give in order to make my career a success. And from that day, it's been quite different. Before, I was just going with the flow, But now I'm so much more intentional, and I also know, okay, this is where I want to go, and this is what I need to do to get there. It's no longer about my dad. I've realized that now everything is in my control. How much effort I put into it is directly affecting me. My father is in his house enjoying his retirement. So now I don't have him to blame. Anything that is an outcome of my career, I'm owning it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for spending time with me and talking to me about all these things tech related and beyond. Do you have any parting shots that you'd like to give before we wind up?
I think I'm also grateful for the opportunity to just make a difference in someone's life, because I feel as women, especially in the tech space, we have unique challenges, more so in the African context. But I feel it also is an advantage for us, because we are the ones who are able to change the script. We can be the best we can be and not blame our husbands or our fathers or our brothers for the outcomes of our career. Women should take that initiative to be the best in their roles, not to step back and be shy about how strong they are as developers or how strong they are in their tech knowledge, and build one another. In Techno Brain, I have been part of the women forum that we started, where we help one another. We are always challenging one another, mentoring one another. It started out from a women perspective, but now the goal is to also bring out our strengths in the tech space. We are also sharing ideas about technology, so that we're not just edifying ourselves as humans, we are also looking at how we can grow each other in the career space. And that has been very exciting, because you're learning from even the newly joined interns, and the junior team members are also being able to give very insightful and exciting opportunities and info that I would never have thought up. Maybe I'm not a millennial, but they are bringing very good insights that make us realize, wow, there's so much more that we can achieve. And I think I'm not just sharing my knowledge with them, but they are also giving me so much areas of learning.
That's amazing. Thank you again for this time, and be sure to subscribe to InterSTEM if you already haven't.
Cool. Cheers.